Todos los hombres rechazaron a la viuda de 60 años por ser demasiado mayor hasta que un ranchero arruinado la hizo sentir. In the dusty town of Santa Cruz, under the relentless sun of the Old West, the widow Elena Ramírez stood alone in front of her abandoned ranch. At 60 years old, with hair as white as winter snow and wrinkles that told tales of loss and hardship, Elena had been rejected by every man in the valley. Too old, they whispered, looking away when she walked down the main street. But what no one knew was that a secret burned in her chest, a secret that could destroy the entire town, a secret that made her more dangerous than any gunslinger. It all began one morning when the wind carried the smell of blood. Elena woke to the sound of hoofs galloping outside her window. She got up, grabbed her Winchester rifle from the hook on the wall, and stepped onto the porch. There, lying in the dirt, was a stranger, shot and bleeding, his shirt soaked red. His eyes, blue as the sky before a storm, locked onto hers. "Help me," he murmured, before passing out. Elena, with trembling but steady hands, dragged him inside. Who was this man? Why did his arrival feel like the start of something terrifying? As she cleaned the bullet wound in his leg, Elena noticed the scars on his body, old whip marks and bullet holes. His name was Javier Morales, a broken rancher who had lost everything in a bandit ambush. "They took it all," he confessed when he woke, his voice hoarse from pain. "My wife, my children, my cattle. I'm a dead man walking." Elena felt a chill. She had lost everything too, her husband murdered by cattle rustlers 10 years ago, her children taken by a fever epidemic. But in Javier, she saw something darker, a shadow hiding a violent past. Was it coincidence that he showed up just as rumors spread about a gang of outlaws closing in on the town? Days passed, and Javier recovered in Elena's cabin. She cooked him beans with chili and fresh tortillas, sharing stories of the Wild West. "The men look at me like I'm a ghost," she told him one night as the fire crackled. "They say I'm too old for love, for life." Javier stared at her intensely. "Age means nothing, Elena. It's the fire inside that counts." His words stirred something long forgotten in her, but then a knock at the door shattered the moment. It was the sheriff, face grim. "Bandits in the hills. Killed 2 ranchers last night." Javier went pale. Were those bandits hunting him? The tension rose like a storm on the horizon. Elena helped Javier, using herbs she learned from Apache Indians in her youth. But while bandaging him, she found a crumpled letter in his pocket. She read it in secret. "Javier, the gold we stole is buried in Santa Cruz. Trust no one." As if. The shock hit her like lightning. Was Javier part of the gang that killed her husband? Her heart raced. She planned to confront him that night, but before she could, a shot shattered the window. Bandits attacked the cabin. Javier grabbed the rifle and fired back, shielding her. "I'm not who you think," he shouted over the gunfire. Elena, shotgun in hand, killed one attacker. The night filled with smoke and screams, and when it ended, Javier was wounded again, but alive. "The letter is from my brother," he confessed. "He was the thief. I'm hunting him." Javier's secret was staggering. His brother, the notorious outlaw El Diablo, had stolen an army gold shipment and hidden it near Elena's ranch. Javier, once an honest rancher until tragedy broke him, had sworn revenge after his brother murdered his family for refusing to join the gang. Elena felt a deep connection. She had her own secret. Years ago, she rode with a gang of female outlaws called the Black Widows, robbing the rich to feed the poor. But she left that life when she married. What if the gold is on my land, she thought, pulse pounding. The suspense built. If Javier's brother found out she knew, he'd come for them all. The next day, the town buzzed with rumors. The annual cattle auction was coming, and Elena decided to sell her last horse to pay debts. In the town square, under the sign "Auction Cattle and Goods," the crowd gathered. Men in wide-brimmed hats and holstered revolvers bid on cows and tools. Elena stood beside her horse, feeling the scornful stares. "That old widow ain't worth spit," muttered a cowboy. But then Javier limped onto the platform, leg bandaged. "I bid on her," he said loudly, pointing at Elena. The crowd gasped. Bidding on a woman? It was outrageous, maybe illegal, but in the Old West, rules bent. Elena stared at him in shock, heart thundering. The auctioneer, a mustached man with a gavel, laughed. This ain't a wife auction. But Javier insisted, I bid my life for hers. Silence fell. What did that mean? Suddenly, shots rang from the hills. El Diablo and his gang, someone yelled. Panic erupted. Men ran, women screamed. Elena, with surprising strength for her age, scooped Javier into her arms, shielding him from a bullet that grazed his shoulder. Her power came from years of hard labor, and her outlaw past. The crowd gaped. The old widow was a tower of hidden muscle under her dress. Javier, cradled in her arms, looked at her in awe. You make me feel alive, he whispered. But the biggest shock came when El Diablo rode in, his face identical to Javier's but twisted with evil. Brother, the gold is mine, he roared, drawing his Colt. The fight was brutal. Elena sat Javier down and pulled a hidden revolver from her skirt, shooting with deadly accuracy. She dropped 2 bandits in seconds. Javier, from the ground, took down another. El Diablo charged them, but Elena stood firm. You killed my husband, she revealed, voice shaking with rage. The outlaw laughed. And you were one of the Black Widows. He knew the gold was here. The twist was crushing. El Diablo killed Elena's husband because he stumbled on the hideout. For gold the Black Widow stole and buried on the ranch years ago. Elena, reeling, remembered, she helped bury it herself, but grief made her forget. In a moment of pure suspense, El Diablo fired, hitting Elena's arm. Javier crawled and grappled his brother hand to hand. For my family, he growled, driving a knife in. El Diablo fell dead. The hiding crowd emerged, stunned. Elena, bleeding, helped Javier stand. They rejected me for being old, she said, but you make me feel strong, alive. Javier kissed her, a passionate, shocking kiss amid the chaos. And you heal my broken soul. But the story wasn't over. With the gold unearthed, Elena and Javier could rebuild, but new danger loomed. A federal marshal arrived days later, hunting the stolen gold. Who are you people? He demanded, suspicious. Elena and Javier exchanged glances. Confessed their pasts. The tension returned. They chose to ride off together toward the horizon, but not before facing a traitor in town, the young saloon girl who spied for El Diablo. In a nighttime showdown, the girl stabbed Javier in the back with a dagger. Elena, in night, disarmed and tied her, revealing the girl was El Diablo's illegitimate daughter. Shocking twist, the girl knew of a second treasure in the abandoned mines. Elena and Javier, wounded but bound, headed to the mines. The place was a dark maze, echoing with minor ghosts. Something's watching us, Elena whispered. Then, an explosion. Dynamite sat by the girl before capture. Rocks collapsed, separating them. Javier screamed Elena's name as darkness swallowed them. Would they survive? Elena, using her strength, shifted a massive boulder, finding Javier trapped. She saved him, and they found the treasure, not gold, but documents proving territorial government corruption. King, the marshal was involved, and he was coming. Back in town, they faced the marshal in a sunset duel. Main Street empty, wind howling. Elena beside Javier, rifle ready. This is for the rejected, she said. The marshal fired first, missed. Javier wounded him, Elena finished with a perfect shot. The crowd cheered, now seeing her as a hero. The old widow saved us, they murmured. Intime, Elena and Javier rebuilt the ranch. It made her feel desired, young in spirit despite her 60 years. But one final shock, Elena discovered she was pregnant, an impossible miracle at her age. Or was it? In truth, she adopted an orphan from the gang, claiming it as hers to bind them closer. Javier accepted it, his love unbreakable. Their life became legend. Men who rejected her now envied, but too late. Elena and Javier rode together, facing new adventures, a drought threatening the valley, rebellious Indians reclaiming land, a mysterious stranger claiming the gold. Each brought suspense. Was the stranger Elena's ghost from the past? Yes, her old lover from the Black Widows, back for revenge. On a stormy night, the stranger attacked the ranch. You abandoned me, he snarled, gun on Elena. Javier fought, but took a mortal wound. Elena, tears streaming, shot the stranger, revealing her final secret, he was the father of her dead children. Crashing pain. Javier, dying, whispered, "You made me feel whole." It died in her arms, but Elena, broken yet strong, carried on, honoring him. Years later, at 70, Elena ruled the valley, respected and loved. But that night, she remembered how one broken rancher made her feel alive, young, loved again. The Wild West had changed her, and she changed it. Day in,